Hello, St John's community. The Parish Council and the COVID Task Group have worked really hard to get to a place where we can reopen the church for a physical worship service this coming Friday. With that in mind, they've asked that I communicate a few things to you in preparation for that. Now, coming along to church will be a little different in light of the COVID restrictions. As entering into stage 3, there are things that we need to do to make sure that the space is safe for everyone who chooses to come to worship. One of the things is the pre-registration process. We've already outlined that for you in the letter which was shared with the parish via email last week, as well as the link which was shared today, Sunday, for the pre-registration on Eventbrite. Now, it's very important that you pre-register. Please do not come to church without registering, because if someone is not on the registry, we won't be able to let them in. The other thing about the registration process is that it will ask for your details. Now, we have been instructed by the government that we need to keep these details for 56 days after the service. And this is so that if something was to happen and we needed to trace who was there on that day, then it will make it a lot easier. So that is why the registration process is so important. The other reason that the registration process is really important is because we have got a size capacity limit. So the church, we have measured it, it is over 202 square meters, and we have divided that up and understand that we can have 41 people in the nave as a maximum, with the current requirements of 4 square meters per person for spaces over 200 square meters. What the Parish Council has decided, along with the COVID Task Group, is that we'll have a maximum of 30 attendees at first. This will be revised in August as things go ahead. The other thing that is really important in coming along to church after you've done your pre-registration is being prepared for the differences that you will find there. One of the differences is that we will have one entry door. This door will be the porch door. You will notice when you arrive that there are little tape crosses on the ground leading towards the door. This is so that as everybody arrives, they are still maintaining the 1.5 meter distance that we need between people to be safe. So when you come to church, you've pre-registered, you're ready to arrive. Please arrive with enough time to come in one by one. Think about what that might mean. And rather than rocking up at 10 a.m. when it's a 10 a.m. service, think about coming a little bit earlier if you can. When you're arriving, there will be a COVID warden. We have 4 COVID wardens, 4 people who have put their hands up to be responsible to make sure the space is ready and that people who are participating are complying with what we need to do to make sure we're COVID safe. So one of these 4 people or one of the parish wardens will be there at the door. They are there to do 2 things: to remind you to sanitize your hands as you come in. There will be a sanitized dispenser right there ready to go. But the other thing as well is that they will be ticking you off on the pre-registered list to make sure that all your details are correct. They will ask you the 4 COVID questions, and when you have said no to all of those, they will then direct you inside where there will be someone to seat you. There have been markers placed on the pews throughout the church to ensure that people sit at the needed distance. You'll be directed to the spot that you are given to sit in for that service. We ask that you do not, under any circumstances, leave that spot until you're directed to do so. At the end of the service, after it has finished, the COVID warden will then direct each person individually to leave. And when leaving, there is a specific door for leaving, just like there is a specific door for arriving. The door for leaving is the double doors where the baptismal font usually lives. So when you are invited to leave, person by person, you can exit through that door. We do ask that at this stage you do not gather outside the church in groups. Certainly, we encourage, if you would like to go and have a social interaction afterwards with those at church you might have missed gathering together, that you do that in the coffee shops and the restaurants along Oxford Street. Now, we're asking this for a couple of reasons. One, we have not done the food compliance certification that we will need to do to be able to have morning tea at church. That is hopefully something that will happen down the track. But for the moment, we cannot gather after church outside in groups. We can't do that yet. So hang on for that. But in the meantime, please support the local businesses. Go out onto Oxford Street, and in small groups you can have that social interaction, because all of those places that are open will have done the food safety certification and be organised for all the things that need to happen around food. So that is a lot. Certainly for those who are coming along, we encourage you to be prepared for church being a bit different. And the reason that these differences are there, it's not to make life hard for us. Rather, it is to ensure that we are safe from this virus, which is very transmittable. It's to make sure that the compassion Jesus calls all of us as Christians to exhibit in our lives is being exercised in the care that we are taking around keeping one another safe. So I really encourage anyone who is thinking of coming along to church physically, please be prepared to follow instructions. Please be conscious of the fact that this is a very different time. And please be mindful of the way that God is calling you to be compassionate for those around you, and especially for the COVID task group and the parish council, who are working very hard to ensure that church is a safe space. Now, I myself am a vulnerable person, as some of you might be aware, so my doctor has advised that I continue to stay at home as much as possible. And I would encourage anybody who is in the vulnerable category, whether that's through a chronic condition or through age demographic, please talk to your doctor before you consider gathering again. That's what we urge. No person in the vulnerable group is prohibited from attending a church service, but certainly we advise that you take advice from your doctor. I hope that everything is clear. If you do have any questions or you're wondering about any other details at any time, please feel free to direct queries into the office through email, or if you'd like to make contact with the COVID wardens, their details will be available on the parish website, as well as many other helpful parts of information, the COVID safety plan and our certification. God bless.